beautiful Monday, and we are here once again to take a look at issues as they emanate on this great continent of ours. The program Africa Discourse, and I am Wilson Omasha. Today is all about Algeria and what is really happening in that country. A president that has been there since 1999, stricken by stroke, just can't move, hardly speaks, but is still in power. And right now, what really got them a little bit upset? Imagine the word a little bit upset? Very, very upset. Yeah, they call him the ghost president. He wants to contest for the election. And they have from now to Sunday to present candidates. Now, he's been brought to be the ghost president. There have been accusations and counter-accusations that his brother is the one in charge. He's not the one in charge. His name is Abdulaziz Bouteflika. Yes, the president of Algeria. And there is massive protest in Algeria. And of course, there's also another protest in France. Algerians are still protesting in France, and this man is not suitable to be in office. Anyway, with me here in the studio to throw more light on this discourse, I have a lecturer from the University of Benin. Please join me. Welcome, Neville Obahedo. Welcome to the show, sir. I appreciate your comment.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, viewers at home.
At first, it was Tunisia, Arab Spring, Egypt, you just name it. But it's like Algeria wasn't touched because everything seems to be at par. Everything seems to be peaceful. After all, they created the stability to Abdulaziz Bouteflika. They talked about security stability, talked about economic stability. Maybe that was the reason why the Arab Spring didn't really shake Algeria, so to speak. But right now, tens of thousands of Algerians, they are out there in the streets and even in France, protesting, saying enough is enough. What can you make out of this?
The point of departure in assessing what is happening in Algeria is the historiography of Algeria as a country. Algeria, or Republic of Algeria, or Democratic Republic of Algeria, or Arab Democratic Republic of Algeria, as the case may be, is one of the countries in Maghreb region of North Africa. And this is a country that you can trace its history to earliest time. Like if you look at the Bible, you'll be hearing of the Phoenicians, and you hear of all the Hittite, the Gigasite, and the rest of them. You can trace some of their origin to Algeria as a country. And so Algeria has been a victim of all kinds of colonialism. Colonialism from the larger Arab world, then colonialism from France, and then colonialism from the Berbers, colonialism from Hammurabi kingdom, and so on. In the course of all these forms of colonialism, the people of Algeria developed the attitude of resistance and violence against external domination. That was why during the colonial era of French hegemony over France, over Algeria, the people of Algeria engaged them in a military front, like the Mau launched a military attack on the British colonialists in Kenya. It was the same way the people of Algeria, based on their historical experience, launched attack on the French government and their representatives. And so over time, the people of Algeria decided to migrate as a result of the philosophy of the French government making French people out of Africa. And so you have many French that are of Algeria descent in Algeria, in France. So after independence in 1962, they had a president who died in the office before the second president, Charlie Bejaded, who now ruled from 1979 to 1993, when he died. And they brought one president, BDM man, to take over. Dawa was there, they conducted election, which was supposed to be won by one political party they call Islamic Salvation Front. And the Islamic Salvation Front was not going to be accepted by external friends of Algeria because of their Islamic fundamental attitude. And so the election that was to bring Islamic Salvation Front as a party to form the government of Algeria was annulled. The crisis that followed led to a civil war, where General Liamin Zeroua was now made the interim president, who later conducted the election that brought Abdulaziz Bouteflika in 1999. Now, one expected that Abdulaziz Bouteflika, after first tenure, second tenure, he should quit. But we discovered that, like several African and other developing countries' presidents, the man on a wheelchair is contesting the election for the 5th time in this country after being there for 20 years. In 2013, he suffered stroke and he has not appeared in public so much, especially that the last election that was conducted, the man never came outside to campaign by himself. People campaigned for him and he won that election. Now he's like a president that is incommunicado, a president that is not seen the public, a president that is not well receiving treatment abroad, wanting to contest election again. The resistance and the revolutionary zeal in the life of the Algerian is coming to the fore now, like what we saw in other neighboring countries. Made mention of Tunisia just now. Tunisia is an eastern neighbor to Algeria. We mentioned Libya just now, northeastern neighbor to Algeria. And the Arab spirit that you saw in Egypt and other places is what is now coming to play out now in the life of the Algerians, whether Algerians in Algeria or Algerians in diaspora are like the one we have seen in France.
In France. Okay, thank you so much for giving us a wonderful foundation to this discourse. Right now, join us in the studio is Salvation Anumbra. Salvation, welcome to the show. I appreciate you coming. He gave an antecedent of how Algeria got to this point. He talked about the first president. He mentioned others. When they got to 1993, there was distress, so to speak, and Abdulaziz Bouteflika came into the scene since 1999, making it 30 years roughly. People like saying that he's 85, others are saying that he's 81. But right now, this man was stricken in 2013 with an ailment, and according to a report, he hasn't recovered yet. And he's a ghost president, so to speak, because they hardly see him in public or hardly see him doing anything that is presidential now, in quotes. And here is a man saying that he wants to contest. Is it a crime for this man to contest? Why are they protesting? After all, the Constitution gave him the power too.
All right. The scenario playing out in Algeria is also showing the desire of the African to hold on to power, the love for the average black man. It's always easy to give a black man power. That's a problem. But to take power away from a black man, it takes civilized black men, it takes maturity for them to release. I'm seeing a president that you hardly come out, you are incapacitated, and we know the demands of a presidential office. We know what is needed, the day-to-day running of being a president, running a nation. And now you are sick, you are treating yourself, and at the same time you are seeking to come back. Of course, every nation, we all know that looking at the political terrain of Algeria, it has always had the influence of the military, the influence of the same cabals are still there. So the fear of the people is that we know that you have not been the one ruling this nation since you've been sick. And right now, you still want to continue when somebody else should come up. So I think the people are right to come up to question that. What are you coming to do? We know you are not strong enough. So how do you want to run this place like this? Or do you just want to be a president by proxy? Somebody else is leading the place. So it's a problem. It's a problem. And everybody, like what we saw yesterday evening, is he didn't listen to the people. He's still going on with that. But it's really, really disturbing. I will always say the African man needs to understand that power, it's more powerful to give away power. You are more powerful when you give away power. When you learn how to release power at the right time. Like it builds our democracy. So I think the president, it's a sad development. It's a sad development.
I would appreciate it if the PD could just give us a flick or a clip, so to speak, that portrays Abdul Laziz Bouteflika on a wheelchair. You get to see this man, you get to know what they're really talking about at the beginning of the clip. Right now, these people, they're protesting in Algeria and they're protesting in France. They demand run foul of the Constitution.
Before we talk about whether Abdul Aziz Bouteflika ran foul of the Constitution, we know that the Constitution is like the Sabbath day, as Jesus would say. The Sabbath day is made for man and not man for the Sabbath. And so African leaders, some other developing country leaders who have occupied positions like the office of the president would like to tinker with the Constitution, to manipulate the Constituent Assembly so that the National Assembly or the lawmaker or the legislature, so that the Constitution can be amended in their favor for them to run, to be given the opportunity to run for the office of president as much as they can. We saw the case of in Southern Africa. We saw the case of Esti Kamuzu Banda of Malawi, amended the Constitution to remain like a life president of his country. We saw the case of Robert Mugabe, manipulated the Constitution and the legislature to be able to remain in power. We move from there to between West Africa and Central African Republic and Central Africa region. We see the president of Cameroon, Paul Biya, manipulated the Constitution and the legislature to be able to remain in power. You move from there to the Great Lake region, you see Paul Kagame of Rwanda. You see his neighboring state counterpart, President Pierre Nkurunziza. You move from there to a neighboring country, Uganda. You see Yoweri Museveni. The list is long. In Upper Volta, former Upper Volta, that's now Burkina Faso, the government of General Lamizana wanted to remain in power. Even the government of Yasigbe Oyadema of Togo remained in power. The government of Matthew Kerekou in Benin Republic remained in power. The government of Felix Houphouët-Boigny of La Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, remained in power. The list is long. The neighboring countries of Algeria, like we said something about Tunisia just now. After the death of Habib Bourguiba, Ben Ali now became president, manipulated the constitution to remain as life president. You go to Libya. When I was in primary school, I used to hear of Muammar Gaddafi. I grew up to go to secondary school, the university, and I started working. I was still hearing and I was still seeing Muammar Gaddafi as the Libyan leader. The same thing with Hosni Mubarak of Egypt. Then if you now live here and go to Asian countries, you will see President Suharto of former President Suharto of Indonesia. The list is so long that Africa and other developing countries, when they are given opportunity to test power, they like to retain power forever. This hinders development. It does not allow the people to bring out their full potentialities and contribute their quota freely to the development of the countryside. In the case of Algeria, we are seeing, we have it that the government of Bouteflika tried to stabilize the country, to reconstruct the country after the civil war that took place under General Hamid Zerouat, because of the annulment of the election that Islamic Salvation Front was poised to win. But economically, it is said that it stabilized the country, and the human capital index of that country is the highest around the region. But the people are saying, outside of economic prosperity, outside of political stability, we need political freedom to be able to determine who presides over the leadership of our country, and not a tiny cabal, or maybe the family of Bouteflika, because I hear that his brother, whether it's Saad or Said Bouteflika, yeah, is the one that is controlling and coordinating people to work for the brother, so that he can use the power of the office of the president to be achieving his own personal aim.
All right.
Whether France, whether Algeria and Algerians in the diaspora will give them the opportunity, time will tell just now. Because the way we are seeing protests in Algeria now, that is how we have been seeing protests in Sudan.
Right.
Because the president of Sudan, al-Bashir, Mohamed al-Bashir, also want to remain in power by also manipulating the constitution.
Anyway, we'll get to that. That is going to be a talk for another day about Sudan and their palaver, so to speak, putting a curfew, well, I say, sort of emergency, removing all democratically elected governors. Anyway, that will be for another day. But he has spoken at length. What does a country truly need? It's not economic revival or political stability, and that's what this man provided. Isn't it enough for the Algerians?
I feel like when I looked at the protests in Algeria, I feel like the main undertone of the protests is not the coming of the president to contest. That's not the problem of the people. The problem of the people is they don't trust the electoral system.
They don't trust the electoral system?
Because if they trust the electoral system, the man is not coming to make himself president. The man is just saying, I want to contest. So if the people trust the electoral system, it will just be to vote him out. So why are they fighting that he wants to contest? What it means is that the people understand that there is no election here. That if he's contesting, he must win. So I feel like the people, they will not be able to stop him from contesting. I feel like the battle should go back to the electoral system. How can Algeria have credible polls come April? How can we trust the polls? Because if this amount of Algerians are protesting against him contesting, of course it's easy. Go to the polling unit and vote him out. But the people don't trust that system. So I think what Algeria needs is like the elections they had in 2017 for their House of Assembly, the turnout was very low. It all shows voters' apathy. The people don't trust the electoral system. So I think what Algeria is having is electoral system. They know that if these people come, this election, it is this party that must win. They know. So it's the electoral system. I think we need to go back to the electoral systems. And I've looked at the world generally. There is one characteristic of nations that don't develop, underdeveloping nations. They always have flawed electoral systems.
But according to report, Algeria is doing well economically and politically speaking. They are stable. What do they want? What else do they want?
It could be better. They are looking at, it could be better. They are looking at, sometimes when a man, like when you go to Lagos, many times, let me use Nigeria for example, the people always say that Lagos always has good governors. But many times, by the time a man eats 70% or 80% and he gives 20% to the people, if the 20% is so much, it will look as though something is happening there. It is, so Algeria they are the 6th highest oil exporter. They are the oil exporter in the world. So Algeria has with the capacity. And Algeria, they are the 10th hydrocarbon reserve in the world. So such an economy, they could be 100 times better than what they are now. Where they are now compared to the possibilities is very low. It's very so the people, they are looking at, we need credible electoral system. I'm not saying normally you are not supposed to fight a man if he comes up and he says he wants to come for election. If you like, if you are a blind man, come for election. We will just reject you at the polls. So if the people are fighting his desire to come up for election, it means that the people are indirectly saying that there is no election, there is only selection. So when you come up, you are going to be selected. So what Algeria needs is a credible electoral system.
Credible electoral system. Is it going to be a case of when Hosni Mubarak was the president of Egypt, where they enjoy peace, growth economically? Don't forget also about Libya, when late Gaddafi was around, where they experienced peace, growth economically, but we are saying that you have stayed for too long. Is that what is going to happen right now in Algeria? Over to you.
Okay, first and foremost, in a nation state, people are supposed to enjoy some rights. You are supposed to enjoy some political rights, some economic rights, some social cultural rights, and all kinds of rights. And these rights are usually enshrined in the Constitution as the ground norm of the country. Now, in the case of Africa, in the case of Algeria, the way and manner the state was constituted is different from the way and manner the state of the colonizer was constituted. So at that point that the state was given to them as the Republic of Algeria, there was a fundamental disjuncture between the state that was hanging in the sky like a balloon and the citizens on the ground. Now, in that situation, you cannot have a credible election because the person that is going to contest for an elected position is the one, as a president, city president, that will determine those that constitute the membership of the electoral body. In that situation, he would like to appoint people who will dance to his whims and caprices. Now, he may have well thought out economic plans and programs that will bring stability, economic stability and prosperity. But the government in place bringing that economic stability and prosperity is an illegitimate government. What the government is only doing is trying to use results, economic results, political stability results, to legalize its illegitimacy. And so that is what has played out in Algeria and in several other countries. For the people of Algeria to have confidence in the electoral system, where they can vote against a president, a dying president like Abdelaziz Bouteflika, they need to deconstruct the state and reconstruct the state. How do you deconstruct the state and reconstruct the state? The first step to deconstructing the state is the step that the citizens of Algeria have just taken just now. Coming out to the street to say no to perpetuation in power, even when there seems to be no life in the president. What we refer to in political science as citizenship combativeness. The citizens are combating the government and the cabal that control the government. They are using it to send a message that even though we have some forms of economic prosperity in this country, we need political stability, we need political freedom to be able to determine who should lead us. Maybe that person may take us to a higher level of economic prosperity, more than what we are experiencing now. This is the way I see the case of Algeria right now, and I see it as the beginning of another form of Arab Spring. Because as they are protesting in Algeria, they are protesting in Sudan. They are likely to protest in other countries like Mauritania or Morocco now, that will now lead us to the second phase of Arab Spring, or phase 2 of Arab Spring. Because what is happening now, there's a tendency that it will have effect on other countries where their leaders have been sit-tight leaders in the Arab world.
All right. Now, from what you said, it's going to be a phase 2 of the Arab Spring. Going to react to that after we take this break. When we return, is it going to be a roller coaster effect? Is it going to be a domino effect? Is it going to be the Arab Spring that started from Tunisia? Is it going to sweep across the continent of Africa? That is what we are going to dwell on after this break. Do stay tuned. All right, now the clips you're seeing or you're about to see, they are clips from Algerian TV and, of course, AfricanNews.com. And Al Jazeera will have to go out there to source for these clips and get to see the man we are talking about, the president of a wheelchair here. That is Abdulaziz Bouteflika. That is the man on a wheelchair, and he's been termed as the ghost president. He hardly comes out, and he's one saying that he wants to vie for the presidency of Algeria, and it led to massive protests both in Algeria and, of course, in France. Kotse Algerian TV, CA Algerian TV. Now, Salvation, this is a man we are talking about, and we're seeing uprising. Is it going to be like the Arab Spring, as Neville Obakedo is like foreseeing right now?
Well, being the Arab Spring, most likely. But I see a situation whereby it's already degenerating. I think there's about 1 or 2 deaths already reported already. The Arab Spring, where you have such problems, is where the crowd, when the people refuse to shift ground and the government refuse to shift ground. When a protest, it is very difficult to maintain a peaceful protest for a long time. When peaceful protests begin to enter days, gradually you begin to see stones, people stoning security agents. Then before you know, gradually security agents begin to lose their patience. And while losing their patience, you see one person shot is fired. First they start with rubber bullets. So it goes into degenerating and all that. But I really see a situation whereby I see the president having his way.
You see the president having his way despite this protest.
It's not it's not the right thing, but I see him having his way because the fact is that yesterday he has already declared himself as, you know, every candidate had to bring about 60,000 signatures to prove that you want to be a candidate. I think about 4 vans entered into that place with signatures for the president's party. He has already declared, so he's not listening to them. He has already declared his candidacy. So what he's saying now is he has gone to the negotiating table with them. He's telling them that let me in. I'm not going to spend 4 years. In a short time, I'm going to conduct election for another person to come in, which we know is a lie. A man who has the military by his side, the military is fully behind him, and the House of Us, everybody there is just, the people are on their own. So I see a situation whereby even the Arab Springs you are talking about, did it really yield results? In the Arab Spring, I think it was only in 1 nation or so that there was a change of government because of the Arab Springs. Before you see, what these people do is this. They begin to sponsor. It won't be long. You will soon start seeing counter-protests.
Counter-protest.
You will soon start seeing it, because no matter how bad a leader is, he has people that benefit from him directly or indirectly. Before you know, they have a way of dancing the people. I don't know how strong-willed Algerians are, but I see them giving, because at the end of the day, you can't hold him that whatever he's doing is unconstitutional. That's the issue. You can't hold him. Whatever he's doing now is not illegal. Whatever he's doing is not unconstitutional. He has the rights to vote or to be voted for. So I see the people where they are fighting for, it's not, they are fighting for something that is morally wrong, but not legally wrong.
Morally wrong, but not legally wrong. Now, you just hold it there. Now, from what he said, this man will have his way. What's your view on that? From what Salvation just talked about. He said, after all, he's doing the right thing by the Constitution, though it's not morally correct, but legally, and speaking with by the Constitution or working with the Constitution, he's on the right path. Though he's on a wheelchair, he can't talk. He was just there, being the president of a great country like Algeria.
Before we say that an embattled and early president like Abdulaziz Bouteflika of Algeria will have his way, the first question is, have there been countries that face similar crises? And there were signs that the president were going to have their way, and they never had their way. The answer is yes. We will look at what happened in the Philippines when one president, Ferdinand Marcos, was the president. He wanted to remain as life president of the Philippines. The people rose against him, just like they are rising against Abdulaziz Bouteflika just now. He did not have his way. When he saw the pressure, he looked for an helicopter with the wife, and they jetted out of the Philippines to the United States. Example one. In Haiti, in Latin America, there used to be a president they call Jean-Claude Duvalier. They also call him Baby Doc. When the people rose against him the way they are rising against Abdulaziz Bouteflika of Algeria just now, he became embattled and was using every paraphernalia of the state to remain in power. Did he succeed? The answer is no. Then let's come to the Arab world. We have seen in neighboring countries to Algeria, namely Tunisia, Libya. After the death of, in Tunisia, after the death of Habib Bourguiba as president, then Chief of Army Staff Ben Ali became the president. He was there until a graduate that employed himself set himself ablaze, and the photograph was set across the Arab world. And the people came outside and said, enough is enough of this man's leadership. Did he succeed after pressure? The answer is no. We move from there to Libya. I said just now that while I was in primary school, I used to hear of Muammar Gaddafi. I grew up to come and still meet Gaddafi as the leader of Libya. And the people rose against him. He was always coming outside to broadcast, sending soldiers out. The answer is, the question is, did powerful Muammar Gaddafi succeed when the pressure, the ovation was landed? The answer is no. Then we'll go to Egypt, also an Arab nation, where Hosni Mubarak, people gathered at what the place they call Tahrir Square in Cairo. They were sleeping there, cooking there. And the man was coming out to make it broadcast, appointing the interim government, appointing prime minister, and the rest of them. When the pressure was too much, the government of Hosni Mubarak collapsed. Now, I said that this may set the stage for another Arab Spring. Considering the crisis in Sudan and the crisis, terrorism crisis in countries like neighboring countries to Algeria, like Niger, like Mauritania, and some other countries in the Maghreb region of North Africa.
All right.
So we cannot be certain whether Abdulaziz Bouteflika and this cabal will survive this onslaught of the people, because the onslaught of the people is not only domestic but also external. And you know that France just came out from series of protests from French,
from the yellow vest.
Yes, because of the policy of the president of France. France cannot also allow the Arabs in France to take this advantage of the crisis in Algeria to wreak havoc on the French economy.
All right.
So
now,
Abdul Aziz Bouteflika and his cabal may not succeed.
May not succeed because you mentioned examples of Arab countries, but in Syria, the man is still there.
Yes, I did not mention Syria deliberately.
Yeah.
Because the case of Syria is a different case.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, from what he said this man may not survive this pressure. But the man talking about Abdulaziz Bouteflika and his cabal, they may not stand the test of time. Now, you talked about the electoral process in Algeria that, according to you, people like protested because they don't trust the electoral process. But with these people now coming out in tens of thousands to really protest, don't you think if they muster that same energy, that same vigor, that same strength to go to the polls, don't you think they'll win?
That's what I was trying to say. I feel like the people are channeling their strength wrongly. For like some of the nations he was mentioning that they were able to, that those presidents had to leave. Because every uprising in a nation, for an uprising to really have a voice, it must have external backings. Because no people can really stand the government. When you stand the government and the soldiers are coming, the people are unarmed. When the soldiers are coming, there's to some level. But when there is external support, the external support, they cannot arm the people. There's a way they support the people. And for you to have external support, there needs to be enough proof of atrocities, of crimes that sitting government has committed. We need to be able to see that the people are really oppressed and all that the people did not have a choice. That's what brings in the external forces. Right now, the people still have a choice. That's why I'm looking at him having his way. They have a choice and they just have a short time. It's April. Their elections are very close. So their choice, they have a choice to vote him out. The man didn't cancel election. The man didn't say don't go and vote. The man is just saying, I am coming as a candidate.
To contest.
To contest. So the people have a choice to reject him. You don't reject a candidate by protest. You reject a candidate at the polls. So where the people must be directing their effort to is the polls. One is to gather effort in their crowd to go to the polls. Then two is to wash over their vote and to make sure that their vote counts. So that should be the effort. You don't fight a man's right. That's why I said it may be morally wrong, but it's not legally wrong. You can't take him to court now that he's coming as a candidate. You can't say he's an evil leader. We know morally is wrong, but you can't call him evil because he's coming out, because he's not bringing anything about the constitution. So I feel the people should mobilize themselves to show their rejection at the poll. For example, their last election, there's a lot of voter apathy. So the people should come out to vote. The people should watch over their vote. The people and the opposition, they should be able to show if there are flaws in the election, they should have enough proof to show. So by the time you are able to prove that this man rejected the will of the people, this man is forcing himself on the people, and the people are coming out, then there will be enough reason to say, all right, this man, you've done enough. External powers, the West, they don't just come in. Every nation have their sovereignty. So you don't just break people's sovereignty. Before you go in, there must be enough. Before America was able to go to Iraq, they have to be sure there have to be enough reason for you to remove a sitting president. So I am advising the people of Algeria, go to the polls, reject your president at the polls, and do everything. Fight. I think the fight should go to the electoral system. Fight the electoral system that you don't trust. If you don't trust it, the people could say, we can't trust the election to happen in April. This is what we want. We want a system where our vote should count. So I feel that that's where they should drive their grievances to.
All right. Now, do you see the election taking place in the month of April due to this protest? You're saying tanks being deployed. You get to see clash between police and, of course, protesters. I like our viewers to really see those clips. You get to see them pouring hot water, steam on protesters with this unrest in Algeria. Do you see April election in that country happening?
Well, for election to happen in Algeria, number one, there must be an atmosphere of peace. And these protests are just headed towards 2 weeks now. We don't know how long the protests will last. So if today is the 4th day of March and the election is April, and these protests are until the end of March, for example, possibility of election holding is 0. And if the election holds, the level of turnout will be the lowest in the history of Algeria. But talking about credibility of the electoral process, there is an idiomatic expression that says that once beaten, twice shy. The people of Algeria are not experiencing election for the first time. In 1993, just like when June 12 was annulled in Nigeria, election was conducted in Algeria. An Islam-based party they call Islamic Salvation Front was winning that election, just like SDP and MQ were winning June 12 election before the elections were annulled. That set the stage for the crisis that lasted for several years, when an army general, Liamin Zeroua, became the head of state, who conducted the election that brought Bouteflika. Now, Bouteflika himself had conducted the election 3 times. The one that brought it was not the one who conducted it, but he conducted election 3 times, making election from 1999 to date to be four elections that have been conducted.
This is the 5th one he's going for right now.
The 5th one that is coming for now. He wants to contest again. Now, nobody, I'm not sure the people of Algeria are saying that the man should not contest. Number one, they are saying by their protest that elections that have been bringing this man since are elections that are questionable, especially the one that was conducted around 2013, when this man never came outside, appeared in any of the 48 provinces to campaign to say, I want to be president of Algeria. And yet he won that election. The man is now in a worse situation now in terms of his health. The man is still on a wheelchair, wanting to contest for that position. Number one, age is not on his side. Number two, health is not on his side. And number three,
appearances continue to fuel
the electoral system politically does not favor the people to determine whether they are going to vote him out or vote him in. And because of that confidence that is lacking, the people are saying, both you and the system that want to throw up somebody else, if at the end of the day you are not going, is a system that we find questionable. And it is better there's a systemic tragedy now. Let there be a collapse of the system, what I refer to as deconstruction of the state, before reconstruction. If the protest continues and the state is deconstructed, there will not be another era of interim arrangement. There's an era of adjustment before elections that will be seen to be transparent and meet international standard cannot be conducted in Algeria. That is the way I see it.
All right, so there's going to be a deconstruction for a reconstruction to happen in Algeria.
Yes.
Well, he said if it continues, there won't be an election. Do you agree to that before calling it a wrap on this show?
First, I want to give a suggestion to African nations generally. I know that in democracy, because I will say that the nations that have election in Africa, they are not, will I say, 95% or 90% of elections in Africa are not credible. Why? There's something that disturbs me. You cannot compete with an incumbent president of government in Africa. Because how can an opposition, how can you be fighting against a man who the military is still under his command? the economy, the finances of the state, the power of the state is under his command. So many times, elections in Africa, I always thought that, I know that out there when you go to the West, you know, they allow those people, you know, you can be a president and still contest. But I think in the African setting, we need to go back to our constitution. I am seeing a situation whereby let these people be leaving power 3 months to election.
3 months to election.
Let them be leaving power. You can't be there. For example, look at Nigeria. The man who wants to contest 1 month time will be the one to appoint a chief justice of the federation. Then you now expect that when you lose that election, you now want to go to the tribunal of the chief justice that the same man appoints. I feel like for elections to be credible in Africa, incumbent president and governors should be stepping down. They should come down as normal people so that the elections can be free and fair.
All right, thank you so much. Getting strong signal from the presidential director telling me to call it a wrap even right now. I know people have so much to say, but time will not permit you have to work within the ambient of time given to us. I appreciate both of your wonderful analysis on point, top notch. Let's just see if the election in Algeria will take place, because the protest is raging on. In France, the Algerians in France, they're protesting, and of course the citizens also in Algeria, they're protesting, and Bouteflika Abdelaziz is not backing down. Will the election take place in the month of April? Ours is to report back to you. Bye for now.